On this episode of Bite Sized, we are watching and discussing the 49th scene of the movie Twilight. For those of you watching along at home, that's from 1:13:51 to 1:17:13. A lot of teens. And now, on to the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Twilight. If this is your... Nope, I did it wrong. Hold on. Welcome to yet another episode of Bite Size. That's what this is called. For those of you joining for the first time, here's what's going on. My name's Ben, and I'm slowly losing my mind. I am watching the movie Twilight one scene at a time with a different guest every week. I get someone on the show, send them anywhere from about 30 seconds to 3 minutes of the movie Twilight, and then we talk about it with little to no other context. Joining me this week, I've got an improviser, a teacher, and a social worker, Amber Linde. Welcome to Bite Size.
Hi, Ben.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm having such a great time being here today.
You said you had your first pumpkin spice latte today. Is that correct?
I did. Pumpkin cold brew, yeah.
Fall is here.
And pumpkin's not for everybody. I'm not a huge pumpkin person, but I do love that cold brew.
Let's get into what we're here to do. Let's talk Twilight. I'm going to start this interview the way I start every interview on the show. That is by asking you, what is your history with the Twilight franchise?
Absolutely zero history, Ben. When you asked me to do this, I said, I'm going to be bad because I don't know anything about Twilight. But I have a coworker named Hannah.
Who was
on the last episode.
Right.
And loves Twilight. And I started asking myself, like, why did I miss this boat? You know, like,
sure.
Why did I miss it? The only experience I really have with Twilight is it was like 2008 when it all kind of came out. And I was a senior in college. Graduated 2009, and I was writing sketches and doing a lot at Second City as a student. And I started just watching Twilight to make sure I knew what it was in case it came up in like a writing class or
very culturally important.
Yes, because when you're an improviser, people will yell, "Can I get a style?" They'll say Twilight. I needed to know a little something.
Right.
So I did a little research, watching clips. I loved the team Edward, team team
what's his
Jason.
name? Team Jason, that's it.
No,
that's his
team
name.
Brandon.
Yep, you got
Werewolf
it.
Daddy.
Team Werewolf Daddy, Jason Brandon. That's his name.
No, but what is the name?
Jacob. You started close and then got farther and farther away.
It's kind of how Taylor Swift feels for me current day, where I'm like, I get it, I understand it, I'm not in it.
Sure.
But I get it. It's I see why people like it.
Did that studying ever come into use? Did you ever have to apply your Twilight knowledge in any way?
Yes, I do a show called Baby Wants Candy, which is like a genre musical show, and we would get suggestions of Twilight a lot, like Sparkle Skin, all that stuff, and I would just lean into the like teen angst.
Sure, and that's a lot of, especially in this scene, that's a lot of that.
Spooky stuff. Yeah.
But I guess it didn't really stick. You didn't become a fan of it.
No, I did not. I it just passed me by a little bit.
Sure.
I do love Robert Pattinson, though.
Hey, he's a good actor.
I do like him.
Yeah.
Kristen Stewart, I'm happy for them. Her.
Yeah.
I'm happy for, I'm just so happy she's I feel like she's in her truth now. And I feel like Hannah and I were talking about this scene before the show. We walked over here together and we were saying how maybe deeply uncomfortable she probably felt filming this. I could just feel that in the scene.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit.
But I'm happy for her.
Yes, I do want to say, though, as much as you say you're not a Twilight fan, and that's not going to make you good on this show, I strongly disagree. I think the beauty of this show is you can have someone who knows a lot about Twilight and have one experience, one type of episode, but I also enjoy taking someone who knows absolutely nothing about Twilight and showing them a very short out of context scene and forcing them to confront this, try and get this outsider view of what Twilight.
And I love vampires.
Yeah, sure, everyone does.
I love
They're
small
great.
towns.
Sure.
I love multiple men with teams. I love Team Edward. I love Team Jason.
Yeah,
so.
are you on a team?
If I had to give an initial, I'm on this team, I think I'm Team Edward.
Okay. For the record, as I have said multiple times on this show, I'm team go to college.
Okay.
I don't think Bella has to settle for either of these boys in her small town.
I'm team see what else is out there.
Yeah, I'm team, hey, live a little bit.
I'm actually team baseball daddy.
Okay.
Because I know my episode is
Phil?
I'm actually team mom getting out and like dating. I know she should like probably raise her child, but I'm happy that she's living her best life. I'm team mom.
Well, hey, we've already started talking about the scene, then let's get on into it. I'll give you a brief overview of the scene, then we'll get into the nitty gritty. Bella is in her bed talking to her mom on the phone. Mom's at a batting cage for some reason. Edward interrupts in a way that technically commits a crime. They make out for a little bit, then they stop, and the scene is over. So let's get into it. Bella is talking to her mom on the phone, as she's done a couple other times in this movie.
So, how's all the baseball stuff going?
Oh, Phil's working so hard. You know, spring training. We're looking for a house to rent in case things become more permanent. You'd like Jacksonville, baby.
Yeah. I'm really liking Forks.
What?
Mom's at a batting cage with Phil. Why is she there?
She's got to watch out for the baseball hose.
Because Phil is at work.
These guys get scouted, okay?
Yeah.
There are like, they call it like lot lizards, baseball hose. Like, she has to watch her man, okay?
You're the biggest baseball fan I know, Amber. You would know these things.
He's a minor league baseball player.
He's a hot commodity.
He's making $42,000 a year.
He's triple A.
And so she's got to be watching. No, I think it's just to show like mom is very invested in this boyfriend. Moms oftentimes, I feel like, have like a reputation of having to like not live their, like not get to have a boyfriend and like and go like live their life because moms are supposed to raise their kids. So in that respect, I'm kind of like, wow, like mom said like, sorry, young daughter of a very impressionable age, I gotta go follow this baseball player. So like I said, team mom a little bit.
Okay, yeah. If I may do a little math for a second, Bella's in Washington, mom is in Florida. They're 3 hours apart. It's dark in Washington. Let's say it's February, March-ish. That means in Florida, it's probably like 9-10 p.m. and she's just hanging out at her boyfriend's place. Why is she not home? I guess is my question.
Yeah, is this like a 24-hour batting cage?
He's really putting in the hours. He really wants to make that that final roster. He wants to make the 40-man list.
Yeah, Bella's going to bed.
Bella is going to bed. Yes, and it's 3 hours earlier for Bella than it is for Renee. So like, why are you awake so late at your boyfriend's job?
What a dream life she has.
What a little bit of codependency she maybe has.
Yes,
I don't
absolutely.
know. Be home, read a book or something. She's talking to her mom on the phone. And, we talked a lot last episode about Bella and her dad and the way they talk. And we get a stark contrast to that in this scene, Bella talking to her mom. It is still awkward and not quite wanting to tell your mom everything, but there is an openness with her mom that is not there with her dad.
Forks is growing on me.
Could a guy have anything to do with that?
Well, yeah.
I knew it. Tell me everything. What is his job? Indy? I bet he's smart. Is he smart?
Mama, can I talk to you later?
Come on, we gotta talk boys. Are you being safe?
In the last scene, Dad asks about boys, and she immediately shuts that down.
I actually would argue that this is as fake or as surface level of an interaction as with the dad from the last
Interesting.
scene.
How so?
I think, can I just call her Kristen?
Please.
What's her name? Bella? I think Bella knows exactly what to say to make like, yeah, boys, mom. I think she's like definitely just rolling, like playing the tape and getting mom off the phone.
Okay.
I don't sense that like mom actually even really cares that much. You can't step out of the baseball batting cages to call your daughter.
That's true.
I think they're both just like playing the part.
Interesting.
I almost feel like her dad and her had a more real conversation than mom and.
That's fascinating. Like that's not how I got it at all.
How are you? Good. I'm fine. Boys. Yeah. Boys, mom. Bye. Because, like I'm saying what she wants me to hear.
Because I feel like she was about to start actually talking in ways that, because I think there is a safety in talking to mom who is not there.
Yes.
She can talk about this boy named Edward and just sort of be vague about it with her in ways that she can't with dad. Because if she says Edward to him, he immediately knows the context.
Now, my question,
Renee
does mom know about Edward at all?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, she just knows that there might be boys.
She does not know that her daughter lives in a small town where there's this weird reclusive billionaire family who lives out in the forest somewhere.
And you know why mom doesn't know that? Is because she's getting sexied out in Jacksonville, Florida with her baseball boyfriend. I'm telling you.
Because she's in a batting cage, if you know what I mean.
She's going home. She's going to third.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. Just third.
But I like that look of it, of like maybe Bella, like having like a long distance friend. Like I feel like sometimes when I talk to my therapist and we don't do video, we do phone.
Yeah.
I pop off on those phone conversations because you're like from afar.
Right.
Sometimes like having somebody long distance, you can open up more. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's.
But then it gets cut off with.
Right, with a crime. Because suddenly Edward is in there closing her window. He's broken and entered in a way that, as we were watching this in preparation, I'm going to establish this now, sort of the overarching theme of the rest of this scene is a lot of stuff that you liked and that for me is just like red flag city.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that actually does.
The way she notices Edward first is that he is standing at her window, closing it. And 2 or 3 scenes before this, they just had a whole adventure where he's jumping from tree to tree. And her very first question to him is,
how did you get in here?
The window.
I feel like that's a very easy connect the dots that maybe the guy right by your window probably came in through the window.
Hey, Peter Pan, how did you get in here?
Right.
I flew, bitch.
Yeah. How do you, this is what a...
But I think sometimes as a social worker, we can say in fight or flight, you sometimes ask questions that are obvious.
Sure.
Hannah had a really good thought on like how windows continue to come up in the series.
Yeah.
And I think this is such an example of like there's a vulnerability, like he broke through her window.
Yeah, we were talking in the last episode about how Mike, the guy who wants Bella can never have her, spends the entirety of the last scene standing outside a closed window that separates him and Bella. Mm-hmm. But this scene starts with Edward forcibly opening the window and coming through it, reaching Bella in a ways that Mike cannot.
He's forcefully opening and coming in her room.
Okay.
But really, truly, like it's jarring.
Yes, it is. It speaks a lot to the difference of those two characters.
But I grew up in a generation of like early 90s, whatever, where being at a woman's window was like the most romantic thing you could do.
Sure.
Carissa explains it all. That Sam character, if anybody's like the early 90s,
but like,
say anything. The
holding
John
a boom
Cusack.
box. Yeah, but I feel like that's generally like sitting in a tree outside or throwing rocks. Climbing into the second story window is
bold.
It's a horse of a different color.
You're approaching this as like a very cognizant male. Like if I did that, I might be a predator. I might be in trouble. I'm looking at this as a deeply romantic red flag waiver over here of like, I know that's wrong, but man, why is my heart speeding up? Why am I looking over at Hannah when we watched this in our office, everybody, on company time? Why was I like, ooh, I like this. And Hannah's like, what? I'm like, I know it's a problem, which is like lending into what Twilight is. Like there's a lot of like maybe ridiculous romance that we just escape into. That's what I'm getting from that.
How did you get in here?
The window.
Do you do that a lot?
Well, just the past couple of months.
Holy cow.
And he's just breaks into her room and watches her sleep, and that's a red flag where I come from.
This is like when you're talking to a guy and they're like, how was the wedding last week? And you're like, how do you know about that wedding? And they're like, oh, I've been looking at your Facebook or whatever. This was his freak flag moment.
This is like Bella's looking at her phone and she gets a notification that he liked an Instagram picture from 5 years ago.
Wow, I'm so glad I picked this scene. As someone who's done that and quickly unliked it and prayed, and as somebody who's had like woken up to somebody liking like 10 photos.
I was like, really hoping you weren't going to say waking up to someone standing in your watching your sleep.
Not yet.
I like watching you sleep. It's kind of fascinating to me.
And my note there is girl run.
Yeah. So when he says the past few months, is that something that they do? Like there's no consent check happening there.
No, this is certainly something that she's never asked him to do. And this is just something he started doing. And this is the first time she's noticed. And fortunately, she's cool with that. But hey, listeners out there.
Yeah. I'm thinking about my bedtime routine and the things that happened for me before bed and how I would really not want somebody peeping on that for a few months.
There is a scene earlier on where she has this vision of Edward in her bedroom, but is it him? Is it a dream? We're not sure.
It's like a sleep paralysis demon.
Basically, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so been watching for a few months.
Yeah.
She doesn't, and once again, the very Kristen Stewart response visually of not much response facially. Like you can't tell. There's a lot that happens in this movie, it looks like, where she doesn't have any reaction at all.
Yeah. And the way Edward talks about this, it is on the one hand, weird stalker behavior, but also like the way some of the things he says about watching her sleep makes sense to me coming from someone. You have to keep in mind, he is a vampire. He has not slept in over 100 years.
Yeah.
This is something he does not do. This is something that no one in his house does. Sleep is a foreign concept to him now, and like only happens on like TV basically.
So he's like maybe entertained by her sleeping because it's like, oh, I wish I could do that, or like I don't know what that is, so let me watch.
Yeah, it's that sort of wish fulfillment. It's less about her and more about what she represents and can do for him, sleeping vicarious through.
And thank God she's sleeping with perfect hair and full makeup every night, and not like farting or burping or anything.
No,
thank God she's an angel, right?
And like not waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or anything, because that would be inconvenient for him. Yeah, and I gotta say, as much as I can relate that if I was a 100-year-old vampire and had not slept in decades, it may be interesting at first to watch someone sleep for a little bit, but to just like sit there and watch someone lay motionless for 8 hours, is a bit much.
But I get the like young girl romance of like, he likes me that much that he's willing to watch me sleep.
Right.
I don't know. There's maybe like I said, I'm the perfect person for this episode because I am unhinged enough to go, wow, then he must really like
No, I love it because usually past guests agree with me when I say that Edward's behaviors are a red flag.
No, they
are. So I'm glad we have a voice of the opposite.
But I understand why teenagers, like young girls, would be like feasting on this, no pun intended, of like, oh my God, this is like hot.
Right. I am so desirable that he's willing to do these things for me.
But he also wants to eat her. I was told.
No, that is also kind of true.
So does he want to? No, I'm sorry, everybody. I feel so stupid. Is it he wants to suck her blood or eat her body?
I think
because Hannah said eat her.
That's a great question.
Do we ever know?
Well, Twilight is kind of vague on what exactly vampires do with their prey.
Okay.
Because there is, whether they just sort of suck their blood like a classic Dracula, sort of like a spider drinking your insides, or where they do actually fully consume more like a zombie, I don't think is ever established.
Or do they prepare? Like,
and I think there are like
HelloFresh
different
vibes?
ways you can do it. Because like if you bite someone to turn them into a vampire, obviously you don't eat their whole body. But like if you're gonna if you need a meal, do you like have to eat some legs or something?
I'm surprised with how obsessed people are over this franchise that hasn't been like figured out yet. Like we just kind of accept it.
We were talking between episodes. We were comparing and contrasting Stephanie Meyer and J.K. Rowling. And this is absolutely a question that J.K. Rowling would answer. And the answer would be weird and unsatisfying. Stephanie Meyer is willing to let these things go unanswered. And I think that is to her benefit and also the fan base as a whole. These questions can just they're not important
and
unless
when you're dating a guy with a lot of red flags, there's sometimes where you just go, you know what? I'd rather not know. Don't tell me. Actually, I don't want to know because I'm in love with you. So don't challenge my love. Thanks.
Right.
Got it.
We just don't need to know these things.
Yes.
We the viewers can just suspend our disbelief for
Absolutely.
I just want to try one thing. Just stay very still. Don't move.
He says that he just wants to try one thing and that she needs to stay very still, which is not how I'm not going to act like I was some expert or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like high school me would not have chosen those words to initiate a kiss. Stay very still makes it sound like
800 years old, right?
He died in the 19 teens. I don't remember the exact year. He was born around 1900.
So that was absolutely the Riz back then.
I guess.
Stay still. Women loved that in 1910.
But to me, it sounds, and we're getting a lot deeper into this than I expected. But I like.
You knew my episode was going to be
not to this extent. But to me, when he says, "Don't move, stay still," it sounds to me like he's prefacing this kiss as not something he's doing with her, but something that he's doing like to her.
Yes.
Like that if I were to kiss someone, I would want that person to be an active participant and not like a mannequin that I'm practicing on.
But he wants her to stay still so that he doesn't eat her.
I guess. Yeah.
Right? That's a good point. Like, why do you need to stay still?
Right.
Because she's the impressionable little girl.
Right. And why not like say, I don't know, why not communicate to her?
I want to kiss you.
Or like, I want to kiss you, but it could also very easily lead to me wanting to eat you, because those are two very similar emotions.
You were asking my red flag vampire to communicate appropriately and have consent checks and boundaries. No, babe, I'm going to hold still and he's going to climb in my window and I'm going to be in love with him for 8 to 10 years.
I'm genuinely glad you do, because throughout this whole experience of watching the movie in this way, every time I see Edward and Bella really interact in any way, all I think is, how could this be romantic in any way?
Yes.
So I'm so glad that I have someone staking your flag in the ground.
Once again,
saying,
have not seen the movie. So you know what I mean? That's helpful, as I'm also living in delusion.
This is their entire courtship.
Hannah said that she didn't see any sexual tension in this scene, and I
agree.
get that, and Ben agrees with that too. I think from watching it, I think Robert Pattinson is trying to give.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kristen is a brick wall in this scene for sure. But I think he's really trying. I see it as an actor, he's trying to zhuzh it up a little bit.
Yeah.
The Vaseline is on his lips.
Right.
It is ready to go.
And it's like awkward in a way that you can sort of justify as, well, they're,
Teens.
weirdo teenagers. High school romance experiences are never movie, Hollywood smooth.
And he's a vampire and he's 136.
Yeah.
So that's going to create some awkward first steps in like any sexual relationship, I'd say.
Definitely. There's a weird imbalance there. And then there's, if I may give you, Amber, some context here, he's a vampire. Vampires drink blood. But
Yes.
Edward and his family are what they call vegetarians, which means they only drink animal blood, even though that sort of helps them. It allows them to live on
So they're sober on
that.
humans?
Even more than that, because vampire blood is like the minimum. Animal blood is like the minimum they need to stay alive. What they really want is human blood. So it would be like if you, for the last 100 years, were only drinking like Soylent like meal replacement shakes that are technically all the nutrition you need, and then you like tried to kiss a good burger.
Babe, I want a regular Coke every single day of my life.
Yeah.
We call it leaded. I want a leaded Coke
Right.
every day. I want it on ice. I want it in a cup. But I drink Diet Coke as sort of so he's drinking Diet Coke with the animals,
Right.
blood, but he really wants an unleaded Kristen Stewart.
But he wants
leaded.
to drink that Coke, but he also wants to kiss that Coke. And when he gets that Coke on his lips, it's going to be very hard to just kiss it and not drink it.
Okay, so you have two social workers on, right? Who work in substance use. So this is the person going, if I have literally one drop of alcohol in my tongue, I am going to lose my family, my house, my kids.
Right.
Like it's off the rails. So Edward is really playing with fire right now, climbing in this window.
Very much
and
so,
that's why
yes.
she needs to hold still.
Yeah.
Fuck, Edward.
It's not a good position for him to be putting her in.
Yeah, and I know this is going to be so annoying because everybody listening to this is probably Twilight fans, but why does he like her so much?
Oh, because
we'll do that another time.
she's a special girl.
Okay.
Honestly, that is one of the big questions of Twilight, because he can read minds, but he can't read her mind.
So she is special.
Yeah, she's very special. She's a special girl. And it makes you, the reader, feel like you can be a special girl too.
Ben, am I a special girl?
You're a special girl, Amber.
Thank you. Okay, but once again, remember, 16, 17-year-olds, 14-year-old girls, and in Hannah's case, 21-year-old girls.
Yes.
Or in Amber's case, 37-year-old girls are jumping into this. So, yeah, got it.
They slowly kiss, and then they start kissing more, and it gets pretty hot and heavy. And then
it does.
Yeah. More so than I remember.
They go to the bed within 9 seconds.
And like Kristen Stewart is not wearing pants.
Wait, who's not Kristen Stewart?
No, she's wearing underpands.
Yeah, because she's in bed sleeping.
Right.
I wear a large T-shirt to bed.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like she's in her comfs. He's climbing on top of her.
Yeah, and then right before things get too crazy, Edward throws himself back and hits the wall of her bedroom.
Stop. I'm sorry.
And there is no way on earth Charlie didn't hear that. That's my big question for the scene.
Your daddy is a cop.
A grown man just hit the wall very quickly, and your dad / cop, whose bedroom is probably on the same floor of this old house that probably has thin walls.
Yeah.
I've lived in a lot of Chicago apartments with a lot of thin walls. You hear stuff.
This is the vampire equivalent of wait, I'm too close, I'm close. Like this was him like literally being like no, right? And he literally vampires back on the wall, hits the picture frames. And dad is,
the fact that the rest of this scene takes place and at no point does a cop with a shotgun walk in, is to me maybe the most unrealistic thing in Twilight. Unless we have to believe that he either did not hear that or just slept through it, which does not make sense in either way to me. Bad cop, bad dad.
Yeah.
Because as we've established, it is a time of day where, you've got a man in Florida practicing his baseball right now. So it's not like it's 2 a.m. where he's deep in a REM cycle. Right. He's either still awake or just fell asleep.
He's absolutely watching, like, I don't know. He's watching the nightly news and, having one more, whatever it is. Yeah, absolutely. Dad's downstairs. Or is Dad out? Is Dad not home?
I don't know. I just realized something. Hold on. I need to pause this recording for a second because I just realized something that unravels the entire movie. Okay, I'm back. Temporally, chronologically, this movie does not work because 4-ish scenes ago, there was a scene that started with Jacob and his dad appearing at Charlie and Bella's house to watch what they call the first Mariners game of the season. And this scene starts with Renee saying, spring training, like they're still at spring training. Spring training is done before the first game of the season.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like what was my equivalent to Twilight, and it's like absolutely like, let's say Saved by the Bell. Like I had an older brother, so we were always watching that after school. There are like 14 other students in that show. They never go to class, whatever. But when you're so in love with a genre or a thing, the things that we're picking apart like just fall to the wayside. Right. Not only with the writer of the thing, but also the people watching it. So I mean, this is why we have this podcast, is to like deep dive it. But it's just so funny how like if you're bought into a series or a person or someone like a crush, everything else can go out the wayside. Yeah.
Edward throws himself back into the wall. And then Bella's response is to apologize to him, which is like classic Bella. You did not do anything. This man broke into your house and started kissing you and can barely control himself. You don't have to apologize for that.
Ben, this is healing me.
Is it?
Yeah. Right. We don't have to apologize for men's behaviors. Maybe, but we do.
No, she was just there existing and he came into her space and started doing things, and now she's the one apologizing to him. Bella. This is
the realest part of this movie, I think.
I'm going to break you of your team, Edward. I'm going to convince you that this man is a walking red flag.
Yes.
He says, "I'm stronger than I thought," which really confirms that he knew there was a possibility he was going to devour her going into this, which is, again, a terrible position to put her in.
I'm stronger than I thought.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same.
I can't ever lose control with you.
A recurring bit on this show, listener, if your boyfriend ever says, "I can't ever lose control with you," you should not speak to him again.
Really? Okay.
I don't think that's concerning thing someone can say to a romantic partner.
There is this very interesting feeling, though, of like that, like he is willing to like restrain all of his like vampire instincts because he loves her so much.
Right.
I don't know. I know this is so toxic. Everybody's gonna be like, what is this girl? This girl's a social worker. But like, I get it. Like, this is the unrequited, this is such a trope. Meaning like this is such a thing we see in like hundreds of years of rom-coms. Oh my God, there's a cat.
Yeah, there's a large cat trying to find space on the couch.
Come here, buddy.
So then they get in Bella's bed and just sort of talk until Bella falls asleep. And he lays there watching her sleep. And that's the end of the scene. And we asked a good question as we were preparing for this. He's cold. He does not produce his own body heat, which means, he is room temperature at most.
Dream man. Yeah. Gang, dream man. I am a hot girl. I run hot. Yeah. I am in bed. I need a fan. I'm like, when I was in high school, they used to call me the hot box. Because we'd go camping and they'd be like, "Can I sleep next to Amber? She runs warm." So we would all snuggle together like in my Minnesota camping background. But I get hot. So I would, oh my God, sleeping next to like a cold person I'd be like an iguana on a rock. Like I'd feel so good. Yeah. But for her, who I think she probably runs cold, they're freezing in that bed.
Yeah, she seems like she would get cold fast.
She's blue. Like they're both gray, white. Like they are so blue. I think they put a filter on this movie, right?
Yes, Amber Linde, they did indeed. That's the blue bell. Guests on this show have a tendency to bring up the blue filter. Oh, yeah, no, like it happens a lot. So much so that I have this bell that I ring.
The episode I watched didn't have the bell. That scared the shit out of me.
It doesn't come up as much as often.
They look just corpsey, which makes sense for Twilight.
Yeah, it's vampires, death, things like that.
Is the Jason werewolf guy, are they really warm and furry?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe
werewolves are constantly like, their body temperature is like over 100 degrees at all time.
This is tough. This is why there was teams.
You and I also run hot. We would get very sweaty if we tried to cuddle with Jacob or Jason, whatever his name is.
Jason Derulo.
Jason.
No, I think if I did watch the show, I probably would become a Jacob person.
And then somewhere around the beginning of movie 5, you would stop being a Team Jacob person.
Got it.
But we'll get into that in about 6 years or so at the rate we're at. Let's start to wrap this up, Amber. If you had to give this scene a name, what would it be? And you knew this question was coming, so it better be really good because you just heard me ask someone else the same question like 30 minutes ago.
Come to my window, but spelled in a way that feels appropriate.
I need you to... okay, then I'm going to choose to spell that.
No!
In the way that I feel comfortable with showing up in my podcast.
Well,
feed.
there's that Melissa Etheridge song, Come to My Window, Wait by the Light of the Mood, I'll Be Home Soon. That has a very, like, I would tell the no, like, that is a very romantic song. This scene feels
Here's what I'll say to you, and you will appreciate this as a fellow creative professional. Oh. I'm going to spell this in the way that won't get me blocked by the YouTube algorithm when I post this episode.
Got it.
That will allow this to get
I don't know what we're talking. I meant COME. I don't know why anybody's freaking
There's
out
no
right
other
now.
way to
Come to my window.
Right? Yeah, cool.
I mean, Melissa Etheridge would be the only person coming after you. So.
Yeah. Fantastic. Amber Linde, thank you so much for being on the show. If people want to learn more about you or perhaps see a show that you perform in the Chicago area, where can they do those kinds of things?
Oh, I hate this part. Oh, no, it's great for people. I'm in a show called Blank.
And makes me look good, so
I know, but I hate this stuff. I'm in a show called Blank, the musical, and it's down on the South Loop in a beautiful theater called Revival. We do an improvised musical based on your suggestions of songs that you put in the QR code for. It's really fun. It's really fun. I do a show called Anarchy and Improvised Rock Opera at I.O. Ben is our drummer for a lot of these things, which is badass. And then I do Baby Owns Candy and a lot of other stuff around the city. A lot of musical improv, comedy I teach, and just love this shit so much. So,
is there maybe a social media handle they can follow to learn about those things? No?
And I don't know.
All right.
I think everybody's kind of busy. But if you see that, you can go, oh, I remember hearing about that.
Great.
That's
just
enough.
go to a comedy show and hope that
support
Amber is there.
Yeah, support live stuff.
Yeah,
go see a show.
Maybe you'll recognize a voice.
Yes.
If you want to follow the show on social media, you can go do so at bitesizedpod_ at Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, where I've been posting little clips of the show, little bite-sized digestible pieces for you to enjoy. Maybe a good way to share with a friend and get someone else hooked on the show. If you want to send an email to the show, you can send an email to myfavoritetwilightpodcast@gmail.com. Apologies to all other Twilight podcasts. If you want to support the show, you can do so by sharing, liking, subscribing, all that stuff you're supposed to do to podcasts or whatever. You can also go to twilightpodcast.com/store if you want to see ways in which you can kick anywhere between $2 and $50 my way. All that information and more available at twilightpodcast.com. And that is it. That is the end of the show. As we always say at the end of every episode of Bite Sized,
come to my window.
See you next time.
How did you get in here?
The window.